Hello everyone, welcome to the Vegan Activist Academy podcast. So this episode is going to be the introduction video just to welcome you to starting this journey, and if you're already vegan and you just want to listen for some advice on how you can kind of coach and guide other people through the process, then there's definitely going to be a lot to learn. For anyone who doesn't know who I am, I'm Michael. I've been vegan for about 6 years. And I was vegetarian for about 6 years before that. And as soon as I became vegan, I had a lot of passion in me to share it. But initially I didn't really know how. And I made a lot of mistakes. I fell out with some friends, had a lot of arguments. I think I turned a lot of people away from veganism. And I think it came from a desperation to save animals and a kind of impatience with the world to understand the things that I had figured out and researched. But then I very slowly realized that if I wanted to help everyone else understand, I had to listen. I had to start sort of reflecting on the mindset that I had and the corruption that was in my mind that made me make choices that were careless. So I had to sort of go within and reflect on what the best way was to help people understand and to empower people to realize that they can really do anything they want and we can live in alignment with our values. And switching these habits doesn't have to be as hard as people think. But I think that needs to come from a lot of empowerment rather than shame. And in the vegan movement, I think there's a lot of frustration and impatience and anger. There are a lot of vegans who really desperately want animals to be saved, and for this horrible thing that's going on where people pay others to kill. I think we all just want that to end so desperately that we do things that we don't really mean, and we say things that are probably more aggressive than we really realise. And it just comes from this place of pure compassion. But we don't really know how to help. So I want to welcome you to this journey and just let you know that I'm not going to judge you, whoever you are. I don't want to make you feel bad for the choices you're making right now. I just want to empower you to realize that the choices that you can make in your life are completely up to you. And I think we've all been brought up in a world where we've been disempowered and put into a certain model of life and told that that's what our life should be. And most people don't have the energy to question it because we're overstimulated by technology, by all the pressures of society. And it doesn't really give us a chance to reflect. But I want to give you a chance to step back and figure things out. And for me, I think the mindset of becoming vegan isn't so much about becoming vegan. It's more about learning how to empower yourself with information and with your own independence to be able to look at the things that happen in the world, the things that are a result of our choices, and then rationally look at ourselves and the world around us and think, what if we could just start again? What would the world look like? And how would we live our lives if we really had complete freedom and control over what we were doing? Freedom away from the brainwashing and the traditions and the culture and the advertising. If we could make our own choices and be free, what would we do? So I want to welcome you to this journey. Because veganism for me has been beautiful. It's brought with me a whole new way of thinking, a lot more compassion. I really connected with animals for the first time, I think, because for most of my life I never really considered myself an animal lover. But out of the sense of respect and justice that came to me through researching what happens to animals, I found a real love and admiration for animals like cows and pigs and chickens and even fish. And that's brought me a lot of happiness because I've been to sanctuaries and I've seen animals playing and I've had a lot of adventures. I've got to meet a lot of really interesting people with different stories. and I've learned a lot of new information about nutrition and about food and cooking. And I guess I've deepened my sort of philosophical, spiritual understanding of how the world is, and it's motivated me to break through a lot of my anxiety. And the thing that's really beautiful about vegan activism that I found is we can all really do anything if we're motivated by a desire to do something purely selfish, like trying to sort of helping animals, helping the planet, or even wanting to help our own health. Those kinds of motivations, if they come from a really pure, beautiful place, they can drive us to do anything. And over the last few years, I've made videos, I've done speeches, I've travelled around and met people, and it's all thanks to this amazing vegan journey I've been on. So I'm not saying that everyone who becomes vegan has to go on this big adventure where they give up everything in their life to just promote veganism, but that's kind of the thing I did because I saw it as being important. And I think now the vegan businesses are starting to realise it. And there's an interesting story actually. My brother-in-law, who works in like a sort of slaughterhouse meat packing factory, he's actually suddenly started to realise that veganism is a big part of the business world, and all the kind of food companies are now recognising it as being something that you can't really ignore, and you have to create vegan products if you want to be a successful business. And that's exciting. And over the last several years since I became vegan, the world's changed a lot, especially in the sort of area where I am in the UK. There's more products, there's more vegans, there's more vegan events, there's this big activism community of people who want to share the message in their own ways. There's a lot of beautiful vegan artists who are sharing really creative music and art and I guess animations and videos, and people who are creating websites, or people who are writing stories and books and different forms of art that I haven't really even thought about, and that's really beautiful too. But in this episode, I just want to welcome you and say, like, from a really genuine place, like, thank you for initially for starting to watch the video, if that's where you started, and then if you downloaded the ebook or gone on the website, or if you've just come across this and found it and decided you want to start on this journey, you want to learn more, maybe one of your friends is showing this to you. And I'm not sure what time you're listening to this, but I really appreciate that you want to put the time into really just going at this as wholly as you can, because this series that I've created, it came out of wanting to make something that I wish this had existed for me when I started, because when I started I made so many mistakes. I made all the mistakes you can make, and had to just learn through those mistakes, and obviously go through the feeling bad with like banging my head against the wall, and but I've come to a really happy place now, so I want to share a lot of that happiness, and all the things I've discovered I just want to share as much as possible, because we all deserve to be empowered. And I think if you empower people can make informed choices. If we push more shame onto people where the shame is already there, we just remind each other of the things that we're scared to deal with. But if we empower each other, we remind each other of the powerful place inside us that's limitless and can do anything. The part of us that can make these changes. And the part of us that knows that it's just a simple series of steps with the right mindset that can result in really positive lifestyle changes. And for me, that's veganism. I don't want to get into veganism as the philosophy, or even why you become vegan, or any of the facts or stats or information, because this is more about the mindset of becoming vegan and what happens when you first start becoming vegan. Because when you first start becoming vegan, you make a lot of mistakes, because it's this big overwhelming world of, there's all these YouTubers and people and information and foods, and there's products, and then there's all this confusing grey area stuff that you're like, but what do I do for that? And really you need to not worry about any of that initially, because it all just kind of comes in steps and stages. And if you overwhelm yourself with, what about vitamin K2? Then you get confused. And there's a lot of things to get your head around, but eventually you'll kind of patch yourself up with it all and realize that you don't really need to worry about anything. Just eat lots of vegan food. When you buy things that aren't food, just kind of be aware of where it came from and be mindful about that. And I guess when you go to places that aren't very vegan friendly, just sort of ask them to accommodate. Do a little bit of research online. There's some a certain kind of handful of ingredients you'll want to learn to kind of check in the ingredients of things, but in a few episodes I'm going to be basically explaining all of those things and giving you kind of printouts, Vegan Academy printouts, and that'll give you an opportunity to feel really on top of the journey, because you'll be like, I've got all the ingredients now, I know. Because obviously it's not just milk and eggs necessarily. There's a few bizarre animal-derived ingredients that can pop up occasionally. But when you first start becoming vegan, you don't need to worry about that necessarily. Obviously, if you have more whole foods like fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and pasta and oats and rice and things like that, it's obviously a lot simpler compared to having processed products. But for me, the beautiful thing about the journey is you just keep learning from your mistakes, and you don't need to beat yourself up about it. You just need to have a positive mindset and realize that just sort of every new experience just brings with it a new kind of lesson. And a lot of people want to take very slow steps with this, but I think there's a certain kind of all or nothing mindset that you need to have with veganism that can kind of really drive you towards feeling really amazing about the journey. I think when you become vegan, you should decide to become vegan. You should make a decision. Because I think being vegetarian and being pescatarian and being flexitarian is more of a buffer that gives us an excuse that we can tell ourselves to essentially disempower ourselves. And I think people who promote vegetarianism as a step are really quite disempowering to others. And when I speak to people, I like to go into the place inside of them where I know you can become vegan right now and you have that within you, and you don't need to slowly transition to make it happen, because you can just do it. You can make these decisions and it's completely within you. And I want to empower people in that way. But I understand that you can make that decision, but you can also still make a lot of mistakes. And there might be foods you miss that you suddenly panic about, and then you end up eating them because you're addicted to certain things. And over time, you kind of lose those addictions and find new things that you can enjoy. But you have to make that kind of decision. That's part of the kind of vegan mindset that I want you to have on this journey. And the other thing is to not live in fear and just embrace the challenge. Because if you have a lot of fear in yourself, you're not going to make excited choices. You're going to kind of constantly be feeling restricted rather than feeling like, the world is mine to just like play with. Have a playful mindset towards the vegan journey. Don't take yourself too seriously. You know, if friends are like, what are you doing? Just kind of make a joke about it, and don't be in a fearful mindset where you're scared of being judged or scared of making mistakes. Because when you become vegan, you have non-vegan people who are they're gonna judge you for being different and crazy, and they're gonna say weird comments and question your protein intake, which is nonsense. I think we all know that from all the kind of vegan bodybuilders that are around now, but there's all these kind of situations. So you're scared of that. And then there's the militant vegan community. I've always tried to avoid being this, but I think I've occasionally done that a little bit in certain ways, and we all have a little bit. It's a bit of an arrogant thing, I think, because we've felt disempowered by others, and then we want to empower ourselves and feel really big and strong, and then we end up becoming militant vegans who are like, you're not vegan enough. That doesn't really help. But don't let those people hurt you either, because they're just going through their own weird kind of ego trips. And I don't say this from a place of hating anyone like that, because we've all done it, I think, and I've done it in different ways. And you'll probably do it too at some point. But try and avoid that if you can. And just avoid those kinds of people in your life. Try and stay around a kind of positive bubble of energy, and be in a space where you can just enjoy the journey you're on and feel supported with the people around you. Obviously it's nice to kind of find a few friends online, or find some YouTubers you like to just kind of watch and comment and stuff. That's quite nice. Social media makes it so easy for us to do that now. What's the other steps? Yeah, I think this is kind of me about, I'm going to round this up soon. Just having, I made a few notes for this. For me, when I normally do podcasts, if you listen to any of the podcasts I do, I usually do them very informally, but for this one I made a few notes to keep it quite focused, because I really enjoy rambling and telling stories, but this one isn't really about me telling stories so much. So what I want you to do is, if you haven't downloaded the meal plan, you can download it on the website. You just have to go on the Vegan Academy part on the veganactivist.com, click on the button and then press it, and then you can download it and you'll get an email, and there's all that. You can you get 3 files. There'll be a meal plan, which will just have kind of like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, snack, breakfast, all that kind of thing. And then you'll also have a grocery list, a shopping list, where you can just kind of take it with you, print it out, take it to the shop, look for all the things you can. Don't worry about getting everything, but that's kind of the things that will make the recipes that I've included, which are the recipes for all the meals. And that's the next thing, which is the recipe guide. So you can download those. They're all free. They're great. And you can there'll also be a few more recipe meal plans, I think, on my website, if you just go on the meal plan section somewhere. I haven't included that many, but there's a few good ones that are just available free online. So if you have like a gluten intolerance or something that makes you have special dietary requirements, you can kind of like do a bit of Googling and search through what I've linked to there. But it's really just find a bunch of recipes and then you just start eating loads and loads of vegan food. Don't take away food. Just think, now I'm going to have a vegan burger tonight rather than whatever else I would have been having. And then slowly you just replace all these other foods you'd be eating. And that's exciting. So, yeah. I think with the transitioning, if you find it way too overwhelming to switch completely all at once, I'd say if you still have certain ingredients in your house that you want to just kind of use up, I'd personally advise that you throw them all away and only purchase vegan foods and only eat vegan foods if you can. But if you want to start, and I say if you have a very busy life, maybe start with having vegan breakfasts every day of the week, or vegan lunches every day of the week, vegan dinners every day of the week, and then slowly you start to patch yourself up. You can do that over the period of a week or two, and it's probably a nice way of getting into it, rather than say once a week being vegan. Have a few days where you do fully vegan. But yeah, I think I hope you've enjoyed this. This has been a nice introduction. I think the next ones I'm going to include a bit more information and a bit more on the kind of the deep stuff behind veganism that's going to slowly start to kind of, in a manageable way, provide you with all the tools and information you need to kind of just feel like you've become a professional vegan. It's a great situation to be in, I think. Because there's a lot of mistakes, I think, that we have to just kind of figure out ourselves. So I want to make this just complete and perfect. So I'll see you in the next episode. I'm not sure how long this has become, actually. I'll have a check. Oh yeah, a little 20-minute one. That's good. So I want you to continue on with this. I'll see you in the day 2. You don't have to do this necessarily, and this is day 1, day 2, day 3. You can kind of do it in your own sense. If you want to just listen to all of them or watch them all in a few days, that's fine. You just kind of do what you want to kind of suit your kind of your sense of what you've got time for and where you can kind of how you can commit. But have the meal plan, have the food, get started, start on this journey of just learning more and being curious. And go on my website, theveganactivist.com. There'll be more random information dotted around. If you want to hear about my story, I have the Vegan Activist Complete Guide to Veganism ebook, which is available on our shop. And we also have an audiobook, which is going to be released very soon. you're probably listening to this and it might be available, but we're just in the process of making that. And we have vegan activist stickers, which are cute stickers you can stick around for kind of educating others or yourself, or just kind of putting them on your laptop. And we also have we have a Patreon page where you can sign up and sort of pledge to help kind of support the creation of videos like this and podcasts, because I'm doing all these sort of things for free. It helps to make it sort of financially sustainable. And I think with vegan resources like this, we need to make it as free as possible, because new vegans aren't really going to want to commit money to helping the creation of vegan resources if you haven't really fully connected with it yet. So I want to make these free, and also the guides and things. So yeah, so you can go on that, or you can just donate on our website, theveganactivist.com. There's a donate button. So anyway, you can obviously help support us, and by us I mean me. We have a bit of a growing team of me, but it's yeah, thanks a lot for listening. And if you can support me, please help. But you don't have to. These are just going to be free, and I'm just going to have fun with it. But if enough people just kind of show a bit of love in that sort of sense, it can help me motivate me to keep making more of these as regular as possible, and also motivate me to make more projects like this in the future. So thanks a lot for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow.